Hello, Roadrunners. My name is Enrique Medina, and we welcome you to this episode of The Sportsrunner. In this week's episode, we get the latest on NBA action, the most recent results of the round of 16 of the UEFA Champions League, more on a surprising reopening plan by a certain team in Major League Baseball, and more on the most recent quarterback to sign a big deal in the NFL. Our Sportsrunner team also brings to you another segment of the Sportsrunner Digest and another conversation with a Rio Hondo College athlete with the Sportsrunner Spotlight. With that said, we begin our show with our weekly recaps with Sportsrunner Weekly. Justin, out to you with the latest on NBA news.
Hello, my name is Justin Gomez, and I am here for your weekly NBA recap. First up, we have an injury update. Lakers star Anthony Davis will be reevaluated in about 2 weeks. We have another Laker player, Alex Caruso, who in his recent game had a head contusion after colliding with another player. And we have 76ers star Joel Embiid, who hurt his left knee in the most recent game the 76ers played. Next, we have Nets superstar Kyrie Irving, who recently played his old team in the Boston Celtics. And in their matchup, he was able to drop 40 points to get his team the victory. Next, on March 11th, the Clippers blew out the Golden State Warriors 130-104. Stephen Curry was showing his frustration in the third quarter, yelling at his teammates on the timeout. Next, we have Miami Heat player Myers Leonard, who was fined $50,000 and suspended for 1 week from the team for using an anti-Semitic slur on a live stream on Twitch. Lastly, we have some highlights. We have LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier putting on a show in front of Michael Jordan. We have Zion Williamson getting a nasty dunk over the Minnesota Timberwolves. We have Luka Doncic hitting a dagger over the San Antonio Spurs. My name is Justin Gomez, and this has been your weekly NBA recap.
Thank you, Justin. With the latest on NBA news, we now take things to Fernando with the latest on soccer and the UEFA Champions League. Fernando, out to you.
Hello, Roadrunners. My name is Fernando Ramos, and in this week's episode, we'll be covering the first 4 games of the round of 16 Champions League second leg. We start off in Germany, where Borussia Dortmund hosted Sevilla. The game ended 2-2 after a brace from Erling Haaland for Borussia Dortmund and a brace from Yusuf El Nasseri for Sevilla. Borussia Dortmund became the first team to qualify for the quarterfinals of this edition's Champions League after an aggregate score of 5-4 against Sevilla. Haaland also becomes the youngest player ever to score 20 goals in the Champions League, beating the likes of Messi, Ronaldo, and Mbappe. 4 out of the 5 goals for Borussia Dortmund came from Haaland, as he becomes the top goal scorer in this season's Champions League. We move on to Turin, where the old lady Juventus were surprisingly knocked out by Portuguese side FC Porto. Porto took the lead early in the first half after a penalty scored by Sergio Oliveira. However, in the second half, Mehdi Taremi got sent off, which made the game even harder for Porto. After the red card, Juventus winger Federico Chiesa managed to get 2 goals back, which sent the game into extra time. In the 117th minute of the game, Sergio Oliveira managed to score a free kick that went under the wall to put Porto ahead. The free kick was terribly defended by Juventus, with all 3 players on the wall jumping and turning the back on the play. Adrien Rabiot managed once again to put Juventus level, but it wasn't enough to send Juventus through to the quarterfinals. Next up is Barcelona, where they look to come back from a 4-1 defeat against PSG. A penalty for PSG as Kylian Mbappe scores it, as PSG go up 5-1 with the aggregate score. Lots of missed chances and a missed penalty for Barcelona. They were only able to get 1 goal back by Lionel Messi. The aggregate score ended 5-2 for PSG, as Barcelona once again failed to make it to the final of the Champions League. We end this week's section in Merseyside, as a struggling Liverpool side managed to beat Leipzig 2-0. An exact replica from the first leg, Mo Salah and Sadio Mane were the 2 goal scorers for Liverpool. Liverpool beat Leipzig 4-0, as Liverpool looked to oversee the bad run of form that they're having in the Premier League right now. This wraps up this week's section of football news. Now on to the next sport.
Thank you, Fernando, with the latest on soccer news. Now switching on to baseball and the MLB. We had a lot of things occur in this second full week of spring training, both on and off the field. We start off first with the latest in spring training action. This week, spring training saw Los Angeles Angels star outfielder Mike Trout hit his first home run of the spring off of San Francisco Giants veteran starter Johnny Cueto. The 29-year-old and 3-time American League Most Valuable Player winner looks to lead the Angels to their first playoff berth since 2014, back at the time when Trout was barely in his 3rd full Major League season. This week also saw new Chicago Cubs starting outfielder Jock Peterson already reach 5 home runs in spring training, homering twice on Thursday afternoon versus the Colorado Rockies. We also saw the debut of Los Angeles Dodgers pitcher David Price last Monday afternoon against the Chicago White Sox after not pitching for an entire year after opting out due to the pandemic. We also got a glimpse of the future with Kansas City Royals top prospect Bobby Witt Jr. MLB.com's 7th rated overall prospect in the game showed a glimpse of what's to come, homering Monday off of Oakland Athletics pitcher Yusmeiro Petit. What made this home run all that more impressive, though, was the distance. 484 feet. Witt would even get a shout-out later in the day from Kansas City Chiefs star quarterback Patrick Mahomes. This week, we also saw Jacob deGrom do Jacob deGrom things for the New York Mets. The 2018 and 2019 National League Cy Young Award winner already looks in mid-season form after hurling 3 perfect innings against the Houston Astros on Thursday afternoon. In the outing, Jacob deGrom struck out 7 of the 9 Houston hitters he faced, even topping it off by throwing a 102 miles per hour fastball. This week also saw the Mets name Jacob deGrom their opening day starter for the 2021 season opener against the Washington Nationals. We also saw other managers name their opening day starters already at this point in spring training. Shane Bieber will make his 2nd consecutive opening day start for the Cleveland Indians. Kenta Maeda will make the opening day start for the Minnesota Twins. Clayton Kershaw will make the start for a staggering 9th time for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Meanwhile, Jack Flaherty will make the opening day start for the St. Louis Cardinals. In news away from the diamond, we saw the retirement of longtime Baltimore Orioles and Atlanta Braves outfielder Nick Markakis. Markakis retires after 15 full Major League Baseball seasons, where he compiled 2,388 career hits and had a .288 lifetime average. Markakis was an All-Star back in 2018 and earned 2 Gold Glove awards back in 2011 and 2014 for the Orioles. Markakis retires after just falling 1 game short, though, of the World Series. In the final news for this week's segment, we heard official news on many teams' behalfs on their reopening plans and allowing fans to return back into the stadiums this year. The Dodgers and Angels will allow 20% of fans, 20% capacity to return to the stadium this year, which is the equivalent of 11,000 fans at Dodger Stadium and the equivalent to 9,000 fans at Angel Stadium. The shocking news this week with the reopening plans, though, came with the Texas Rangers announcement. The Texas Rangers announced that they were allowing 100% of fans to return to Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas this season. The Rangers announcement did make it very clear that masks need to be worn during the games, but this is without a doubt the extreme outlier compared to the rest of the league, which is on average allowing 20 to 30% of fan capacity to return in stadium this year. You can check more on specific teams' plans with an article linked down below in the description box. With that said, that concludes our weekly recap for baseball and the MLB. Out to you, Luke, with more on football.
What's up, Roadrunners? It's Luke, and here is another NFL recap. Today we're going to start with my Dallas Cowboys. We signed Dak Prescott to a 4-year, $160 million contract. I'm very excited. I'm glad that we finally got a deal with him. I think he's earned his money, and I just can't wait to see him bounce back from this injury. The only problem I have with it is that we've all have seen what happens to teams when they sign their quarterbacks to huge contracts. In Seattle, Russell Wilson isn't happy because he doesn't have offensive weapons, but it's hard for them to pay for him because how much money he takes up. And then the Chiefs. The Chiefs cut their 2 starting offensive tackles, Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher. These guys are veterans, but they are getting up in age. And we see what happens to Patrick Mahomes when he doesn't have a good offensive line. He scrambles a lot and his performance goes down a bunch. But because of those cuts, the Chiefs now save $18 million in their cap space, which leaves room for them to go ahead and sign people on the team that they need to, sign and keep, or they might go out into the market and rebuild that offensive line. Now, talking about a team that does no cap issues at all is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It is now safe to say that Tom Brady has brought the Patriot way to the Tampa Bay Bucs. Tom Brady extends his contract, 1 year guaranteed he could play for, and because he took a pay cut, he saved $19 million in the Bucs cap space. Because of this pay cut, Chris Godwin is able to sign a franchise tag for $16 million. Levante David, linebacker, who made that defense elite and is a great linebacker in the league today, has a 2-year extension, $25 million. The Patriot Way has reached Tampa Bay, and they're ready to be the next dynasty in the league. Speaking about the Patriots, Cam Newton signs a 1-year extension with $14 million dollars plus incentives. I'm really excited about Cam Newton. I'm glad that the Patriots decided to give him another chance, and hopefully he could just go back to his MVP caliber season that he had back in 2016. It wasn't all his fault why he didn't have a good year. The Patriots were missing a lot of key players because of opting out or because of injuries. So I'm very excited to see what Cam Newton does with the Patriots this upcoming season. Next, we have some new free agents, and these are all offensive weapons. Former tight end for the Los Angeles Chargers, Hunter Henry. He's very young, but he does get injured a lot. He has way more upside than he does have down. It's unclear what teams he has his eye on, but as soon as he signs, he's going to make an immediate impact, especially if he could stay healthy and play to his potential. Then we have former wide receiver for Detroit Lions, Kenny Golladay. This does suck for Jared Goff because Detroit did have some really good weapons at the wideout position, but because Golladay refused to sign the franchise tag, he is now in the market. We'll see if he goes to teams that need a wide receiver like the Green Bay Packers, maybe Seattle, maybe the Patriots. Wherever he's going to go, instant impact. He's a playmaker. He's been in the league for a while, and I'm excited to see where he goes next. We also have Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has been a blessing to Aaron Rodgers for the Packers. The Packers have never had a really good run game, and Aaron Jones was always able to, help Aaron Rodgers out whenever the pass game wasn't going. Now that Aaron Rodgers lost Jones, it's going to be very hard for the Packers to even make the playoffs. He was a very big role for that offense. And wherever Aaron Jones goes, I know he will make an impact. He's an explosive runner, and I can't wait to see where he goes next. There's a lot of moves happening right now, and this NFL season is going to look really great coming soon. So I'm excited about that. Thank you for watching Sportsrunner.
A lot of great news from this week's weekly recaps, but let's get to hear a little bit more about the subjects that we talked about in Sportsrunner Weekly with the Sportsrunner Digest. Hello, Roadrunners. We welcome you to this segment of the Sportsrunner Digest, where we digest a little bit more of the information you just heard in our weekly recaps. So with that being said, Justin, let's start with the NBA. Tell us what's the deal right now.
All right, so right now this week, it was a little slow, not a lot of news, but we had Shannon Sharp talking bad about Kevin Durant because this year is supposed to be his chance to prove to everybody that he can win. With maybe one player, he had Kyrie at the beginning of the season, and they were supposed to prove that they can still win with just them two. But then they went on to pick up James Harden. They went to pick up Blake Griffin. So now they're saying that he can't win without other superstars around him. What do you guys think about it?
I mean, obviously we know why he joined Golden State. Oklahoma wasn't able to get it done. We could go ahead and just talk about how much of a weak move that was. But in a way, I guess Shannon Sharp is kind of right. Him going to the Nets was to him. He literally said he wanted to, make his own legacy. This is a legacy move for me. That's why I'm going to go play for the Nets. We all know you need at least two superstars on a team. And, KD would still prove that he's, one of the greatest players ever if he wins a championship with him and just Kyrie. The Nets are already a pretty good team before they started getting all this talent, like Dinwiddie and all those guys. They all played really good, and Allen, the big man that they lost. So I do understand where he's coming from. It does kind of suck and be like, well, you had to get all these new guys like James Harden, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, all these dudes, So I could honestly see why this kind of taints his legacy a little bit.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you too, Luke, on how it could taint his legacy. And I just think in general, it just says a lot about the modern NBA and the teaming up of super teams. I mean, we saw James Harden wasn't content with his situation, and, he's played with KD before, and just this whole idea of super teams, and especially KD, who's been on a super team before with Golden State. So yeah, for the same reasons, I definitely agree with, this definitely could taint his legacy. And especially if you really think about it, if they somehow manage to lose, after they signed Blake Griffin and, they don't win it all, it's gonna even tarnish his legacy
It's
even
gonna be
more
bad
if you think
for
about it.
Yeah.
it's gonna be bad for all four of them, really. And like another thing that was pretty funny is they brought up Kevin Durant's old tweet from like back in like 2012 when the Miami Heat super team formed. There's like a tweet that said like everyone wants to play for the Heat or the Lakers, all these super teams. And then years later, that's when he joined Golden State, and now here he is again with another super team.
Well, with that said, let's move into our next topic. We move into soccer. Fernando wasn't able to make it for this week. But in this week, we had news in the UEFA Champions League round of 16, and specifically with the elimination of FC Barcelona and Juventus, where Messi and Ronaldo play respectively. Messi with Barcelona, Ronaldo with Juventus. A very interesting fact. For the first time since 2005, it marks the first time we don't see either Messi or Ronaldo's teams in the quarterfinals, which is the round of 8, where 8 teams are left in the competition. So it's brought up a lot of questions on whether Messi or Ronaldo should actually stay with their teams. Honestly, they've been the two best players in the game for the past 10 to 15 years. They might just be the two greatest players of all time. So I wanted to get your guys' thoughts. I know you guys don't know like a whole boatload about soccer, but just let me know on like just players in similar situations like this. Do you think it's better for them to kind of stick it out with their teams, or do you think it's better for them to move on and move on to a next chapter in their storied careers?
For me, I think if they can get the opportunity to play with another team that they believe could win, then I believe they should make that move. Like just like we were just talking about Kevin Durant. He knew that he wasn't getting it done with OKC, so he went on to a team who he thought who could win. Might see the same thing with Messi or Ronaldo. Like, we already knew like Messi, like there were rumors that he wanted out, he wanted to leave the team. Who knows what might happen just like off season for them.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's similar to like Tom Brady, like 2 seasons ago. He had a really like not a very good year with the Patriots. People are saying he was washed. The team overall wasn't as good as it used to be too. And then, when he went to the Bucks, that's a pretty like stacked team, have great wide receiver core, good defense. And he kind of proved that he still has some gas in the tank. And I think maybe that's all Ronaldo and Messi need is just like an opportunity to be like, hey, we could still play at an elite level. Even though they are like almost in the twilight of their careers, undisputed GOATs for sure. But, I don't think they would really get bashed if they joined a different team. They still want to win a championship. They still have something left to prove. So I think they would be the guys that wouldn't get bashed if they left, but they would get a lot of respect for sticking out with these teams.
For me, I definitely say for Ronaldo, I think it's about time that he moves on for the same reasons. I think Messi could maybe stick it out one more year, see if Barcelona could get another player that might help out a lot. They're still in a pretty decent financial situation, so maybe they could create something, but things have gone downhill like really bad the past 2-3 campaigns. So I'd say give it one more year and we'll have to see after that. But let's move on into our next topic with Major League Baseball. The Texas Rangers, Major League Baseball team, just announced this week that they'll be reopening their stadium to 100% capacity, which I know sounds crazy, but with Texas reopening, they went all out and they said, boom, everybody could come back. So I wanted to let you guys know about that. I wanted to see your thoughts on that.
I think I feel like Texas itself is they're just rushing everything right now. Like it's like it was out of nowhere. We're like, boom, Texas is 100% free, no mask. You guys can do whatever you want. And now, like weeks later, they're opening the whole stadium up. Like I feel like it's a little too rushed.
Yeah, same here. Used to be from Texas. All my favorite sport teams are from there. I'm not really like happy with having everyone back. I still think we need to still be cautious, and just because we have a vaccine. I think like we said last episode, it's cool that stadiums are being open again. Like all those people that work in the stadiums, whether at the team shops, concession stands and all that. Good. I'm glad they have jobs again, but we don't need to put them and players at risk by having full capacity. I think it needs to be baby steps. If they went 50%, I think I wouldn't mind, but to go 100% is a different story. It's just weird because the San Antonio Spurs, Coach Popovich, he said that his team is going to continue to do all the social distancing, continue wearing masks and all that. So it's just going to be weird how state laws are going to affect the professional sports teams, because professional sports teams still need to be really careful because they're in season and they want to have a season, and missing players due to COVID sucks.
Yeah, they did announce that fans will be forced to wear masks at the stadium, but I mean, I don't really think that makes any difference at all. Like, they're still going to be taking off their masks to eat food or to drink whatever they need to, and I just really don't think it's going to make a difference. I totally agree with you guys. I think it's too early to do it. Maybe if they wanted to do like 50% capacity, 60 something percent capacity, then feel free by all means. But I think it's just way too early. And I totally agree with you guys 100%. But let's move on into our final topic. Luke, give us a little bit more about football.
So like I said, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, and Dak Prescott finally got paid. It's a 4-year contract, $160 million. Even though I am happy, it kind of does make me worried because earlier this week, the Chiefs cut both their starting offensive tackles due to cap space concerns. And that's mostly because of the big Patrick Mahomes contract that they signed. And so it just got me thinking that all these big contracts just end up making things worse for teams. Like, we see Russell Wilson has a big contract. He's really upset with the Seahawks and kind of wants out and says he wants a better offensive line. And then Deshaun Watson got a huge contract too from the Houston Texans, and now he wants out because he's not happy with the organization. And I just wanted to see, like, does it seem like giving quarterbacks big contracts ends up doing more harm than good?
I say like it has to depend on the team. Like I feel like teams like Chiefs, they can make that call, like make that risk to like pay your quarterbacks. They prove that they can make it to Super Bowl and even win it. I feel like the Texans and even the Cowboys, like I feel like overpaying their QB could come back to bite them.
I partially agree with that, Justin. I think more often than not, we've kind of seen in the past where, those type of contracts do backfire. And even if we look back at history, a lot of the most recent quarterbacks who've won the Super Bowl have been either on like short-term deals. They've been on rookie contracts, and sometimes history doesn't lie. And I think it's just not the best of ideas, with Dak Prescott, especially about the opportunity to build around somebody, when somebody's your focal point. I understand, being able to pay such a large amount to one person, especially if they're that important to the team. But I mean, you need to build a system around them to be successful. So in that part, I just kind of don't get it,
I was gonna say, like, Tom Brady, like he took a pay cut for his team, but all these other QBs want like the super max basically. Like, yeah, look how like the GOAT does it. And, like, he wants to keep his team, but they should be able to leave some cap space to form an actual team around them.
Yeah, honestly, 100% totally agree with that. Luke, anything else that you might want to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what Justin just said. Like, Tom Brady has been doing this ever since he was with the Patriots. He's never taken big contract, agreements. He's only done it once in his career, but still is always like for just like not that many years, like big money right here, and then went back to going pay cuts. And it's just crazy. Like, he got the whole Buccaneers organization to, buy into this whole take a pay cut, save money for cap space. That way we could re-sign some other dudes or go into the free agency market and, rebuild and, reload on weapons. It's just crazy. Like, he literally brought the Patriot way over to the Buccaneers. And because of that, they were able to get back their star linebacker, Levante David, wide receiver Chris Godwin. And, they're going to keep Leonard Fournette, who stepped up this past season, and all these other guys. So, I mean, I would think quarterbacks would take a page out of Brady's book if they really want to win. But we're in a different NFL league now. Players want to speak up. They want their money now. But I mean, I think people should just look at Tom Brady, for example, if they really want to win.
That's going to conclude this segment of the Sportsrunner Digest. We thank you guys for joining in for this segment. We move on to our next segment. Thank you guys. This Rio Hondo College softball player saw a lot of tough challenges during quarantine, but this didn't stop her from improving herself both as a person, as a softball player, and as a welder. Let's get to know a little bit more about Ariana Amezcua in this week's segment of the Sportsrunner Spotlight. Hello, Roadrunners, and welcome to this second segment of the Sportsrunner Spotlight. This week we have the great chance of getting to meet with Ariana Amezcua from the Rio Hondo College softball team. Ariana, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day outside. Got the kids running around. It's great.
I want to start off by asking a little bit about last season. During the spring, obviously, that's when things started to really change, when the pandemic started to hit, when it started to come here in the U.S., and everything like that. Everything started shutting down. I want to get to know a little bit about how you guys found out on the softball team that things were going to get canceled for that season, or at least suspended up to that point.
All right. Yeah, pretty much up to that point, a lot of us were very clueless. We weren't too sure what exactly was going to happen. We all knew that, they were going to cut our season soon. We didn't find out until the week after they released it. Our coach was very persistent on being kind enough to, say it to our faces. So it was kind of tough. For me, it was a little bit of a shocker. I wasn't really ready for it. But I can say as for myself, it was a learning experience for sure. But we basically sat in our big conference room. She sat us all down and told us to our faces. She didn't want to take it over a text message or anything. So she was kind enough to do that. And we just kept on working out. We kept on trying to talk to each other as a team and mainly to our coach. Just trying to keep in a good relationship and pass our class.
Yeah. I want to know a little bit more about that, how you mentioned at the end, you guys kept working out. Tell me a little bit about the process of staying in shape and making sure you're ready in case there ever was going to be a season, or at least during the off season, what you've done to make sure you're staying in shape in order if there was a season.
All right. Yeah. For me, I try at least do my workout once a day. But for our coach, when we were doing our class, basically, we have our 2 days out of the week when we were in that class, we would go on Zoom and she would have a workout ready for us. And we would just get up on our cameras and go ahead and do our workouts. And she would have our timer on and she'd just break it down. She'd watch us. If there's something wrong with our form, she'd even say it over camera. So, it was a lot of more self-discipline as well. You had to keep your hitting with yourself. You had to keep working on your footwork and, your eye and hand coordination. It was just a whole big stop because, we grow up playing softball. We grow up playing with the team, that individuality that you with yourself it came to a lot of people at an older age, but it should be started at a younger age, but it was hard. Yeah, it was hard for a little bit. It's very hard. But I still try every day. I still keep going. Yeah.
Let me know a little bit more about that actual process of getting on Zoom and doing the workouts. Let me know a little bit about the process. Did he have to set up a net outside to hit into the net, or what?
No, yeah. She I'll tell you that she would make us do about a minute and a half video. So she wants to see us a couple of swings, maybe some of the quick drills you did with yourself. So we would do drills with tennis balls. Oh, excuse me. We would do drills with tennis balls, throwing the ball against the wall, catching it with our other hand, doing that. But we would set up a camera and we would do the videos ourselves and turn them in as an assignment. For our workouts, you would have us all prompt up, like I said before, and she would have her own app on, and she would time us like that and keep us all going together at the same time. And yeah, we every week we had a video due. So it was, it was no skin off the back of the rest of the stuff that we were doing. It was just a quick video of what we were doing, and that's pretty much.
I want to get to know a little bit just about you as a softball player. Which position do you play?
Mainly at Rio Hondo, I played first and third. Mainly first. I also pitched a little bit, a few games, not that much. After I had a little bit of a back injury and realized that pitching was a little bit more strenuous for me. But I still pitch. I still practice pitching just in case if I need a pitch if I go back next season. And I played outfield. Just for a few games. But yeah, mainly first, I would say.
Considering that, it seems like you've played a lot of positions, played the infield, outfield, pitched a little bit, like you just mentioned. Is there a certain position you kind of worked on a little bit more than the other?
Ooh, for a while, I would say that I was working more on a first baseman, but I was actually a pitcher for quite a longer time. I pitched for about, I think I would say like a 6-7 solid years. But I was also working mainly on being a first baseman or third baseman. So I was still trying to pitch and get my hard ground balls hit at me so I can react fast enough and get comfortable a little bit. Not too comfortable, but yeah.
For you, which position do you genuinely, which position do you think you enjoy more? Which one do you think is a little bit more fun?
I thought I gotta say third base. Third and first, man. Third and first are very close to my heart. So it's kind of hard to choose between the two.
Yeah, personally for me, I actually, I played growing up too, and I did get a chance to play a little bit of third. I played a lot of first base and catcher, but man, third base is hard. I give you a lot of props for that. That is the hot corner, and it's hard to play. Plus the throw over there is really, really long compared to any other base,
Yep, absolutely. Across the field.
I give you props for that.
Yeah, but I would say first, I think first I'm closer with.
I want to ask a little bit more about your coach, Bianca Urquidi, correct?
Yes, Bianca Urquidi.
I want to know a little bit about other than those Zoom workouts, what else was she telling you guys throughout quarantine, throughout the off season, to keep you guys motivated or make sure you guys were, just taking care of business,
Yeah. So she would also on our regular Zoom meetings, we would sit down and talk about a particular section we read of a book, or of a section a little excerpt of I don't know how to say it. It was either of a book, another little pamphlet that was very small, talking about, workmanship and just having the work ethic, self-discipline, stuff like that. So she was really giving us that mental strength, teaching us to have that mental strength because, going through failure, it's really hard to bounce back sometimes. We're human and we get in our heads. So she was really trying to teach us to be mentally strong in our other Zoom meetings. And it was pretty great. If you were actually sitting there and taking the words that she was saying, she was teaching very strong morals to help you go further in life, basically. That's the best way I can put it. Yeah.
With that said, I want to ask, what did you take out of the experience of quarantine? What did you learn about yourself?
Oh, wow. I learned a lot. I learned how much self-discipline I actually didn't have. Just not constantly having to be on the walk, going to class and stuff like that. It made me realize man, I got to really set time and work on stuff that I have to do, work on the details and go through the journey a little bit more by myself, but I still have a big support system around me. But I just realized how much all your choices matter. All the details that you make, all the details that you go for, it all kind of started coming together. It kind of was a reality check. And I took quarantine as a blessing. It was a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, you talk about right now just how COVID in general, the virus has affected you. And I want to talk about how it's potentially affected you in regards to the transfer process, because I'm assuming, you're pursuing your degree and also playing softball. So I want to get to know a little bit more about that, how it's really affected the transfer process for you.
Okay, yeah. Personally, I wasn't actually thinking of transferring for a while, only because I'm actually going to school at Rio Hondo for my welding technology my associates in welding technology, but it's not transferable. I was planning to get it and using that to get me somewhere else in like experience wise, for another job, starting there, possibly going back to school then, because I need to be able to support myself, I think, before if I want to go a step further in school. But I'm a very person who, if I'm gonna be in school, I'm gonna be in school. I'm just trying to get my associates, but I'll tell you this: for getting my certification for welding, that's very hard for me right now. Quarantine has kind of made it hard. They were pushing back. They're pushing back tests for a while, so I wasn't able, nor did I do the classes yet to actually get the certifications. So I was starting to get worried, thinking that that was going to push back for me. That, like, man, these guys that have been in the program for already a year, I've been in here for a few months, and they're not going to get certified until after Corona passes, or until recently when we just found out that we're going to have, to get our certification for our written test, we're going to have a test online. So that changes, it's been changing different things around me for my welding certifications, and just for schooling. I want to get an associate's in welding, and it's very hard because we don't have a lot of teachers, nor do we have a lot of funding for our spot of welding technology, of the tech, the whole tech department of the schooling. So we waste a lot of money only because we have our stick rods that we burn down, and we just burn down, and they come in little barrels, and each barrel costs a lot of money. So it's kind of hard to get more teachers to come into the program and help with these other classes that we need that are not offered. So it's been a challenge. Going into welding wasn't always my dream. It wasn't. I came to Rio in 2018, so around that time, I wasn't even sure I wanted to do welding. It wasn't until that fall that I had decided I want to do welding and I want to give it a shot. Little did I know that I was going to love it this much and actually put my passion into it. So it's been a ride.
Yeah, I love getting to, know a little bit more about your welding journey and just like how passionate you are for it. I want to get a little bit in depth on your actual softball journey, just about like how you grew up with the game, passion for that sport. Like, how did it come about? And, just tell me a
Okay,
little bit about the
yeah,
process growing up playing softball.
for sure. So growing up, my father and his two brothers were very into baseball. They loved baseball and the way how it was, and they showed it. Just in the way they played and talked about it. And growing up, I also have cousins who also love to play softball. So when we were there, like, it just, man, like we built it off that. And like, I have cousins who didn't like it, but for me, it made sense. It gave me clarity, and it helped me through a lot of coping processes that I needed during the time. I needed to kind of put my energy and to put my focus into something, and found truth within myself through softball. I think that's why I have such a good connection with softball. I learned a lot through it. Um, my mother too, her brothers, she grew up catching for her brothers. She grew up being part of the team moms, or being, the cheerleader there, but she knew the game. She knew baseball, and so did my father. So I grew up with baseball. My mother told me my first baseball game, I was 6 months. Who takes a 6-month baby to a Dodger game? But it was just how they always had it around me. And I didn't want to like push it away. I wanted to embrace it, and so I took the chance, and I did, and I love it. But yeah, that's pretty much how softball came into my life. And but I've been playing since I was 4 years old, and yeah, I just played in Almani majority of my life, and played at a Royal High School as well, and then came to Rio Hondo.
Yeah, it's awesome, getting to hear about like how you grew up with the game, how you grew up with your family, how you just embraced it. I want to get to know a little bit more now on just like your future goals. Do you have a future goal in regards to softball? Is it all focused on welding now, or just maybe just completing one more season at Rio Hondo if you get the chance to do so? Just let me know about your future goals a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I would really like to get, one more year over at Rio Hondo. That's one thing for sure. I'm also kind of in the middle of getting my certification, so I'm in a very tricky position where it's like, do I keep on trying to keep on going to school just so I can play on this team, or do I go on this path and because I'm gonna actually start working and getting into welding because this is something I would like to do and get into. So that's been a big little teeter totter right there, but I'm for sure really gonna try my hardest to stay into school so I can play with her one more time. And if things are getting more easier and I'm able to manage working and stuff, I think I'm gonna try and keep going to school so I can transfer out because they've also gave us back our years that we have lost due to COVID. So I can actually transfer and play.
Okay.
If I can, I would. If I can, I would. But right now, I'm really more focused on welding.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think I would like to get into coaching in the future. I think I'd like to get into coaching or yeah, pretty much.
Awesome. I want to do a little bit of like a rapid fire question type of segment now. Let's get straight into it. First off, what is your favorite memory growing up in regards to playing softball? Favorite memory, favorite game, or anything like that?
I'd say the one that pops out is when I got 2 home runs in a game, and I also pitched that game, and that was the game before our championship. So it was basically the semifinal, and we were going against a team that I've been playing against since I was 10 years old. I was probably 13 during this game. I was 13 years old, and I've been playing against those girls since I was 9. But there was our all-star team. So it was basically our all-star season, semifinal of a big tournament that determined if we were going to go to another higher tournament. And yeah, I pitched that game. I only had 3 runs scored on me, and I had myself hit 2 home runs that game. Yeah,
That's
I was
awesome.
13. I don't know where that juice came from.
Next question. Would you rather have a diving catch to win the game, or would you rather hit a walk-off to win a game?
Hit a walk-off, probably. Yeah.
Awesome.
I've done the last catch, so I would like to do a walk-off.
Awesome. Let's see. What's your favorite hobby other than softball and welding?
Ooh, hiking for sure. San Gabriel Mountains have my heart.
Awesome. Favorite pregame routine? What's like the ideal pregame routine for you?
I have a particular stretch that I like to do. So particularly like after I know I don't get too particular in how I dress, but I do always have to put my socks on first before my pants. That's one thing for sure. Socks before pants, and make sure I get my stretch in.
The superstition. Yeah. No, it's
Yeah,
totally there with
just that
baseball. I
part.
totally get it for sure. Yeah. Favorite team. I know you mentioned you've gone to some Dodger games before, but are they actually your favorite team? Who's your favorite?
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
even softball team.
My favorite softball team, I would have to say, because we don't have the professional softball league anymore. But my favorite softball team would probably be ASU, Arizona State University.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Dodgers.
Okay. Awesome. Especially with them winning the World Series just recently. That's awesome. But with that said, I really appreciate you coming on again, letting us know a little bit more about your story, with welding, with softball, how you grew up with the game, getting to know a little bit about quarantine and the difficulties as a student athlete and, the transfer process, and I really think this can help out, some of the future people going into the program, just to get to know a little bit about, what to expect, or, people going through similar difficulties. And I really appreciate you letting us do this interview. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for giving me the time.
It was a great time getting to know about Ariana and her experiences during quarantine as a Rio Hondo College softball player, and also getting to know about her experiences during quarantine and how she managed to overcome the challenges that she faced. But with that said, that officially puts an end to both this week's segment of the Sportsrunner Spotlight and an end to this week's episode of The Sportsrunner. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be notified for future Sportsrunner episodes. You can also check this episode out on our online website, elpaisanoonline.com. Don't forget to follow us too on Instagram at elpaimedia. On behalf of our team, I'm Enrique Medina. Thank you for watching this week's episode of The Sportsrunner. We'll see you next week. Peace.